ho dovuto sentire come schiaffi.
Tonight, Pope Francis continues to address Canadian residential school abuses back home in Rome. Plus, survivors from northern Quebec are still reeling from the memories.
The coin does tell a story. It tells about the way we were, our birth, our reign of terror, right to what we are now.
And this coin is in mint condition. Canada packs generations of Red River Métis history into a new commemorative memento. Good evening, Tansei, and welcome to APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. The pomp and circumstance of the Pope's visit to Canada is over and done. During the papal mass in Quebec, Chouchon Bécan met with 3 Innu men from Manioutinam who told their stories for the first time. Lindsay Richardson brings us this translated version of the story, and a warning: this story has distressing details.
The energy was charged, with religious dignitaries and politicians making their way to Saint-Anne-de-Beaupré Basilica, pews packed with residential school survivors ready to receive the Pope's Holy Mass and apology. So many others were not ready. Louis-Georges Fontaine is a survivor of the Manioutinam residential school. And to this day, he struggles to discuss his experience at the Catholic-run institution. Fontaine and 2 of his childhood friends agreed to share their stories with APTN, despite being triggered by the scene at the papal mass.
Ici, dans les archives des pensionnats, à l'ouverture du pensionnat de Manioutinam, entre autres, je vois le même scénario ici. Il y avait l'évêque en avant, il y avait les religieux, il y avait les fonctionnaires. C'est presque la même chose. Il y avait le pape, il y avait les évêques, il y avait les prêtres, et nous autres, on était en arrière. C'est la même chose.
Willie Régis, Innu from Manioutinam, watched the proceedings from inside. He says it was hard to be unmoved. Manioutinam is one of 64 communities across Canada who've received federal funding to assist in ground searches and commemoration of former residential school sites. In Régis' home community, this could take up to 2 years. But the impacts of residential schooling have resonated much longer. But silence is not uncommon. Réal Mackenzie, also from Manioutinam, says for years children lived in fear of speaking out. Holy Mass eventually ended. The Pope has returned to Rome. But for thousands of survivors, these men included, the healing work is just beginning.
On a fait des études
As a step in the reparations process, the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops has put up a $30 million healing fund to help communities establish resources. As a medicine man, Mackenzie has his own vision for men in his community.
I renew my request for forgiveness for the wrong done by so many Christians to the indigenous peoples.
After the Pope's repeated apologies for the past, the focus for many is on the future. Though much is uncertain for these three, their experience bonds them as brothers. A story by Shashan Bacon and Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Saint-Anne-de-Beaupré, Quebec.
The National Indian Residential School Crisis Line is available for survivors and others who might need support. That number is 1-866-925-4419. Pope Francis this week said he felt the pain of survivors of Canada's residential school system like a slap.
Ho dovuto sentire come schiaffi.
During his weekly address at the Vatican, the pontiff said the Catholic Church has to face up to its responsibilities for institutions that abuse children. During his trip to Canada, Pope Francis met with survivors and apologized several times for the Church's role in the system that tried to erase Indigenous cultures. The Pope's apology tour wrapped up in Iqaluit last Friday, but he didn't leave the Nunavut capital without again being asked to intervene in the case of Oblate missionary Joannes Rivoire. Savannah Kelly spoke to APTN News reporter Kathleen Martins yesterday.
Hi, Kathleen. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us today. So you met Joannes Rivoire in person in France. What was that like?
That's right. Yeah. Oh, it was an experience. You know, he's an elderly man now. He's 92. He walks with a cane. He's a little bit stooped over. You know, he moves slowly. He came up to us. No one else knew who we were, why we were there. He, you know, gestured to come with him. We walked through the lobby, up the elevator, and he lives on the 3rd floor in a Oblate retirement home in Lyon. It's at the end of a very quiet street, and when you're in his room, it to me looked modest. It's large-ish. There's like a hospital bed, a desk where he has his computer, and then he has 2 of those floor-to-ceiling French windows that open up to a couple balconies. And then he overlooks Lyon. And he said, we're going to do the interview in French, which I don't speak French, so that made it challenging. And he also refused to go on camera, where we had agreed that it was going to be an interview for TV.
And why is it that the Pope again is being asked to intervene in this case?
Well, because in the spring, a number of 3 Indigenous delegations from Canada went to Rome. That's when they first met with the Pope, and said the Inuit delegation asked him to intervene personally in this Rivoire case. It's been hanging around for a while, and they want some resolution, right? Some justice. And so at that time, the Pope you know, heard what they had to say, and when I met Rivoire, he said the Pope had intervened. He had instructed the Oblate superior in Lyon to write him a letter, which he received, but he wouldn't show me the letter. And he said he explained to the superior that he was innocent of these allegations. He didn't sexually abuse any children in Nunavut when he was working there for 30 years. And so in his mind, the Pope had already intervened, but that isn't good enough. You know, the Inuit want more action than that. They want him either tried in a courtroom in France or back here in Canada.
Right. And what does Rivoire think about all of this attention now that his story is being brought to light in the media?
You know, he couldn't tell us enough how much he hates the media. He blames it for he's estranged from his family. They don't live far away, maybe half an hour drive. And he has no friends, really, no life. He says he doesn't leave his room for 6 months just to go down for meals. I would say he does not like this attention, doesn't want it. wants to live quietly, and he talked a lot about, going home, going to see God, passing on as an elderly man, waiting to go to the next life. And leave this one and all these allegations and media attention far behind.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time for us, Kathleen. This has been very interesting, and we look forward to seeing you with more on this story.
Oh, you're welcome, Savannah.
All right, we need to step aside for a short break. We'll have more news for you when we come back. Welcome back. We have assembled our panel of distinguished journalists once again to analyze events in the news and perhaps not in the news. We are joined by Carrie Benjo, editor of the Eagle Feather News, and Niigaan Sinclair, University of Manitoba Native Studies professor and Winnipeg Free Press columnist, to discuss events surrounding the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs and suspended Grand Chief Arlen Dumas. Carrie, Niigaan, thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to speak with me about this.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Arlen Dumas is still Grand Chief in Manitoba, albeit suspended without pay over allegations of sexual misconduct. Now, 2 days before he is to face a vote of non-confidence by the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, he issues a press release saying he is seeking trauma-based treatment for, quote, healing not only from the events of the past 5 months, but also a lifetime of trauma. Carrie, we'll start with you. What do you make of that?
I'm a bit disappointed. It seems like a political move, and I don't blame him for doing that because he does have a lengthy political career. But as a female, as a woman, it doesn't feel right. This is not just a one-off incident. There was incidents before that were reported and widely discussed. And this seems to be a pattern of behavior, and saying that he's going off and to seek treatment for trauma-based treatment. What about the women? Is there anything happening for the women who have been his victims, alleged victims? I'm really concerned about the way this is looking. There's no accountability here. I would have liked to have seen him maybe apologize, maybe step down, do something more definitive than say I'm going to seek treatment.
Mm-hmm. And Niigaan, same question to you. What's your take on the Grand Chief's press release?
Blaming the victim is exactly the problem with Arlen Dumas in the first place. He's consistently and continually blamed others and not taken responsibility himself on this issue. He continues to deny that this issue was anything other than what he calls like a workplace situation, a human resource situation, whatever he wants to call it. It is a situation in which multiple women have come forward to allege that there's been inappropriate conduct and behavior. We broke that story at the Winnipeg Free Press, and so we've seen the documentation and so on. And while Arlen Dumas is also very litigious, and meaning he's aware that he has a lawyer, and this is a move to seek to try to stave off the election or the removal of him from as Grand Chief. And this is, other than that, this is just a situation in which he's trying his best to try to recover what he can from a political career that's gone completely awry. And it's a situation where if Arlen Dumas will not take responsibility for his own actions, this will never be resolved. And I can't see him being able to proceed in any other direction other than to say that, blaming a victim, which is a person, what he has said is, oh, I've been traumatized over the past few months. Well, who produced that trauma in the first place? And saying, oh, it's because of my past trauma, is just a convenient excuse to say that I don't want to apologize. I don't want to take responsibility for this. This is a situation that has gone completely awry, not just because of him, but because the numerous people within the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs who have protected him over the years and have ensured that his behavior, while have been reported within the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, has continued. And that is a serious problem. It's not just Arlen Dumas here. It is also the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs and the staff, which have for years supported this behavior by doing things. We have to remember that the allegations are going back years, and there was supposed to be some kind of healing journey that the chief was on. There was supposed to be some kind of processes changed, but as we saw within the report again that we had talked about at the Winnipeg Free Press, there is a toxic workplace that has been fostered over years.
All right, so will Arlen Dumas be Grand Chief after tomorrow's non-confidence vote, or still be Grand Chief, I should say, Nigan?
Well, not according to the schedule, because according to the schedule that was released by the Assembly today, what you saw is they actually have scheduled into the day itself the decision on when will the by-election be held for Grand Chief, and that tells me that the Assembly is already preparing to have him removed. And I have sources within the Assembly and also within the Chiefs of Manitoba, and I can tell you that the sentiment, the majority opinion that I'm hearing is that he will be removed. However, we have yet to see, and if there's anything that this situation has produced, is been a failure to listen to victims, been a failure to listen to the kind of kindness that Kerry is talking about. You know, I hope that everybody notices that, you know, we have an Indigenous woman here who is being very kind to a person who really at times has not shown that kindness to others. And so that's exactly the kind of things that I think the Assembly is going to need to do moving forward, is to listen to Indigenous women, not listen to those who have been a part of the situation for a number of years.
And Kerry, we'll jump over to you. How would having more women leaders sort of help the situation?
I think having more female leaders, it will create balance. Women voices have been absent from First Nations politics for far too long. This goes against our traditional ways of leadership, and there's a lot of, I hear a lot of people talk about Indian Act chiefs, and there's this, I talk to a lot of women, a lot of matriarchs, who don't agree that this is a system that works for Indigenous people. We need to have an equal voice at the table to hold leaders accountable. I think if we had an equal disbursement of female chiefs, male chiefs, we'll have more balanced dialogue. Maybe incidents like these won't be sloughed off. They won't be so easily dismissed. And we really need to have the female voice at all levels of government. And because traditionally that's what we did. Leaders didn't just act on their own. They had the matriarchs, they had the grandmothers, they had the elders, they had the youth, and they made decisions together. And ideally, we should have that type of system. But the current system we have now, I see that there is possibility for change, especially now when I see a lot more female chiefs taking the lead and taking up these positions and taking up this space. I think that it's been very long. It's taken too long to get to this point, is what I'm trying to say. And I feel hopeful for the future, but we need to move quicker, and maybe some things like this would stop happening.
All right. Thank you both for that. We are unfortunately running short on time here, so we're going to have to end it there, but certainly appreciate you both taking a few minutes out of your day to speak about this, and we will certainly keep track of all that's going on with the AMC.
All right. Thank you.
Now, we reached out to Grand Chief Dumas. His email said he is out of the province and unable to respond, but we hope to hear from him soon for his perspective. All right, we need to step aside one final time. Still ahead, a new coin honors the Red River Métis. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Gail French, from the comfort of her own porch, shared with us the view that she saw on an early morning last week from the Chippewa of the Thames First Nation. Thanks so much for that one, Gail. Beautiful shot. Send your photos to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting over in the east, 28 in rain in Charlottetown and 30 in clear in St. John's. 23 in a mix of sun and cloud in Happy Valley Goose Bay, and 23 in Cartwright. 25 in Rouyn-Noranda, and 25 in Val-d'Or. 25 in showers in Sarnia, and 26 in sun in North Bay. 25 in Wawa, and 22 in Big Trout Lake. Rain and 17 in Churchill, and 12 in Puckawagan. 25 in Barons River, and 28 in Winnipeg. 25 and sunny in Regina, and 29 in North Battleford. 19 in rain in La Ronge, and 20 in Uranium City. Moving west, 23 in a mix of sun and cloud and high level, and 22 in rain in Peace River. Rain and 19 in Edmonton, and 22 in Lethbridge. 24 and sunny in Victoria, and 25 in Bella Coola. 19 in Sandspit, and 25 and clear in Fort Nelson. 17 in showers in Whitehorse, and 19 in Rock River. 28 in Norman Wells, and 21 in Yellowknife. 23 in Colville Lake, and 23 in Inuvik. 15 and some showers in Chesterfield, and 16 in Cambridge Bay. 9 degrees in Arctic Bay, and 8 degrees in Iqaluit. The Royal Canadian Mint has released another new limited set of coins, and among them this time around is one honoring the Red River Métis. This coin is part of the Generations series that started last year, celebrating Indigenous stories from across Canada. Made in collaboration with the Manitoba Métis Federation, there are only 5,000 coins being minted, which has floral beadwork patterns as well as elements of the Michif language. The pure silver coin has a face value of $20 and can be purchased for $100. Métis artist Janine Crouchy designed the art on the coin and said the art tells a story of the Métis.
To actually see it now on a coin, our beadwork is on a coin. It is just, to me, it's just absolutely, amazing. The coin does tell a story. It tells about the way we were, our birth, our reign of terror, right to what we are now. So all of those things are in this coin.
All right, that's all we have for you tonight. I'm Daryl Stranger. Thank you for joining us, Miigwech, and have a great night.